So the movie begins with some guy complaining over the phone that the street Edgewood Way is half a mile away from Edgewood Lane, so it confuses the hell out of him. So we can conclude that he's more lost than an English beginner student listening to a conversation between Churchill and Ozzy Osbourne. Then a car passes next to him, stops, and returns, so the guy's like, okay, just keep walking, mind your own business, then turns away to the opposite direction, and oh god, they're kidnapping him, and yeah, he's just been kidnapped. Well, this movie's gonna be quite a trip, huh? Then we see this other guy half naked shaving his beard. Then his girlfriend appears and they kiss each other. Aww. But then the girl starts asking him whether he has packed his toothbrush and deodorant and other clothes and are you his mother or what? The guy knows what he's doing. So the guy says, does your family know I'm black? And the girlfriend says, no. So the guy says, okay, this relationship's over. And that's the end of the movie. Of course not. But the guy gets a bit nervous thinking he'll be rejected by the family because of his skin color. So her girlfriend says, nah, my father would vote for Obama again if he could. So cool. That's how you end racism, I guess. They're driving to the girl's parents' house, and this witch throws the guy's cigarette out from the car windows, so yay. That's how you end racism and cancer. This movie's so educational. Then the guy calls his friend Rod, who's a security guard. Here we discover the guy's name Chris, and the girl's name is Rose. So when they hang up, Rose starts joking with Chris, saying that he's jealous and all that stuff, is all laughing until BAM! They run into a goddamn deer. So Chris goes to see how the deer is doing, and surprise, it's still alive. But not for long because it looks like crap. Then a police officer arrives and asks for Chris's license, although he wasn't driving, so Rose gets mad at the officer, saying doing that is racist, not like her and her family who vote for Obama and throw cigarettes out from the car's window. Finally, they arrive and there's a black man taking care of the garden, and Chris is like, that's suspiciously racist. So they meet Rose's parents and they all hug and smile, but then we see the ground creeper looking all creepy as hell. Then Dean, who's Rose's dad, takes Chris on a tour. He shows Missy's office, who's Rose's mom's, and tells Chris that Missy's a psychiatrist, shows some silly family pictures, and Chris like, cool, but he wants to get the hell out. But when they reach the kitchen, there's a black maid called Georgina, and Chris is like, that's even more suspiciously racist. Dean says, oh, I know what you're thinking. You think we're some racists who will lock you in a basement and force you to work for us, don't you? Actually, he points out the fact that they're a white family with black servants and that they hired them when their mother and father were sick, so when they passed away, they just kept them. Well, anyway, seems no one's racist here. Cool. Then Chris tells that his mother died of a hit and run when he was 11, so he starts shaking his hand and Dean asks Chris if he smokes. So Dean recommends using Missy's telepathic powers to hypnotize Chris and make him quit smoking. I'm not making this up. They're about to put him on hypnosis, but Chris rejects the help. So anyway, Dean says this weekend that they're having a big party that his father used to do once a year. Meanwhile, Georgina is serving some iced tea or something but gets distracted, and bam! She overfills Chris's glass. So Missy sends Georgina to the rest for a while, and Chris is like, my racist detector is telling me something, But all of a sudden, this madman appears and turns out to be Jeremy, Rose's brother. Then they're having dinner and laughing, and everyone forgot about Georgina's lack of skills to serve iced tea, and Missy's telepathic superpowers, and dead deers, and cigarettes out the window. Then Jeremy starts making passive-aggressive questions to Chris like, have you ever been in a street fight and stuff like that? So Chris says he did judo as a kid, and Jeremy wants to try him out. But Chris declines the offer, and Jeremy goes all pissed off and drunk. So Rose and Chris are in their bedroom, and Rose apologizes to Chris for all that racist crap that happened, but Chris is like, who cares? Then they have sex, but they don't show it. Fucking losers. Chris is still awake and worried, so he takes a cigarette with him and goes out, but when he's about to light it, he sees the groundkeeper running towards him, then takes the cigarette and throws it through the car's window. Yes, he gets into the car and throws the cigarette from there. Is this family tradition? Actually, he just runs and turns to the right before hitting him. Was he playing tag? I don't think so. Well, Chris returns to bed, a bit confused, but Missy turns on a light from nowhere, sitting on the sofa like that cliche of, I was waiting for you, Mr. Bond. But she just asks Chris to spend some time with her, and come to think about it, that's exactly how the orange YouTube movies begin. The guy all alone with the mother-in-law, then she asks to spend some time with her. Nah, she just grabs a cup of tea and asks Chris where he's been since his mother died. And suddenly they're like on a therapy session, and Missy starts to hypnotize Chris with the move of the teaspoon. And Chris remembers when he was a child watching TV the night his mother died and starts crying, and Missy has him like completely paralyzed, and she asks him to sink into the floor, and Chris starts floating in space? Wow, what a movie. Then Missy says, now you're in the sunken place, and all of a sudden, BAM! It was only a dream. Ha! That classic cliche again. just like the James Bond sofa sitting stuff and the mother-in-law dirty movie cliches everywhere. The next day, Chris goes out to take some pictures and sees the groundskeeper chopping off wood. So Chris approaches him all cool, but this guy's a creep and just keeps staring at him, then says that Rose is a lovely girl and finally apologizes for scaring him last night while running towards him in the yard like a madman. Then asks if Missy's hypnosis worked. Oh, so it wasn't a dream after all. Then Chris tells Rose that her mother hypnotized him and now the mere thought of a cigarette makes him throw out. Then lots of cars arrive to start the ceremony before, as we mentioned, so everyone's white and Chris understandably feels a bit off there. Then this old man asks Chris if he can play golf and that he met Tiger Woods once. Then this lady touches Chris's arm and asks if it's better. So Chris, like, that's definitely suspiciously racist again. Then thinks that again with this man saying that black is in fashion again. So Chris gets out to take some pictures and forgets about passive racism. But he finds a black man serving himself a drink and dressed up in a strange suit. Could he be Robert Johnson's ghost? Will he ask Chris for his soul and turn him into a successful photographer? Or maybe he's Bruno Mars. I mean, he has the same hat. So Chris approaches him, but no, he's just a simple guy called Logan. Well, not so simple really. He looks strange and this old lady approaches him and it seems they're a couple. Despite the wide range of age between the two, so weird. Chris is like, this is definitely not racist, but I'm still confused as hell. I mean, this guy looks as if he was absolutely high on marijuana, something like a mix between Chris Barnes and Snoop Dogg, but dumber and with a silly suit. Chris finds a blind man sitting on a chair who says that he knows Chris because of his photographic art, and Chris is like, are you freaking pulling my leg? But no, he ends up being a recognized art dealer whose assistant describes the art in extreme detail. So he tells that he used to be a photographer but ended up blind and life's not fair and blah blah blah. So Chris then's like, I gotta go take a shit or something, cause he goes upstairs and I think he farted really loud. Cause everyone stops talking and looks up to the ceiling and, no wait. Oh my god, something's definitely going on. Something racist? Chris goes to pick up his phone and finds it uncharged, which he also suspiciously finds racist because he claims he left it charging. So Chris believes Georgina unplugged it on purpose, but Rose didn't take it very well. Then Chris calls Rod and tells him that he got hypnotized last night, so Rod's like, get the hell out of there, man. They're going to make you a black sex slave for white people. Seriously, he said that.
White people love making people sex slaves and shit.
He actually believes that. Rod is as weird as me. I like him. So Chris hangs up and Georgina appears and scares the hell out of him. So she apologizes, saying that she disconnected the phone by accident and stuff like that. Then Chris says that's okay and that he's just a bit anxious with so many white people all around him. So Georgina gets all weird and starts laughing and crying and saying, no. Is she high too? Like that other guy Logan? Is everyone high except for Chris? Why wouldn't they share some of it with Chris? Probably racist, huh? Makes sense. Well, Chris goes out and Rose's father is with his friends and someone asks Chris how his African American experience has been so far. No, you mean the Jimi Hendrix experience. I don't know, but this is weird. Guy appears again, so Chris asks him to answer for him, but while Logan's not looking, he takes a picture with his phone, and the idiot forgot to take out the flash. The flash was so powerful that Logan's nose starts bleeding. Wow! Then Logan says, get out. Yeah, that's a good movie. I saw it. But Logan gets so mad and keeps on screaming, get out, and Chris is like, what the hell? So they take Logan away. Then Rose's father says that Logan has experienced a seizure. Then Logan apologizes to everyone and goes away. So Dean proposes to play bingo so everyone forgets about that event. What a party. Let's forget about this madman crying out for help, and instead, let's play bingo. Ha! God, I love white people. Rose takes Chris for a walk, and he says that when the guy approached him, he had the feeling that he knew him before, and says that he wants to go home, so Rose gets mad at him again. Meanwhile, Rose's father is playing bingo, and oh, that's nice. The winner will take with him the beautiful portrait of Chris. That's so cool. Oh no, wait. Oh my god, the winner will take Chris. Well, what the hell? And guess who wins it? That's right, the blind man. Back to the couple. Chris tells Rose that when her mother got hit by a car, she had survived the initial hit, so Chris never got over the fact that he didn't call 911 to save her life. Then he says to Rose that she's everything that he has and he's not leaving without her. Aw, so cute. But did he forget his conspiracy bro Rod? I mean, you have your best friend too. Gosh, men become idiots with a girl around. So they return at night, planning to leave together. Chris sends Logan's picture to Rod. So Rod calls and tells him that the guy's name is actually Andre and that he used to date a girl they know. So Chris is like, oh my god, yes, that's the guy. And Rod believes this Andre is the sex slave of that old lady he was with. Like, for real, the situation's terrifying, but this guy Rod doesn't stop saying funny things. So Chris tells Rose to pack everything and get the hell out of there, but Chris finds a small room and there's a red box full of pictures with Rose and different black men who look like their ex-boyfriends. And in the last picture, bam, Rose and Georgina together. So Chris tries to reach to the car, but the entire family stops him, and Dean starts talking about fire and mortality and that they're like gods inside a cocoon. So Chris yells at Rose to give him the goddamn car keys, but Rose changes her expression all of a sudden and says she won't give the keys to him. Oh crap. So Chris tries to escape, but Missy does the ticking with the teaspoon and Chris falls paralyzed to the ground, and they take him to the basement. Rod tries to contact Chris, but he doesn't answer and gets worried. So he does a quick search on the computer and finds out that Andre's missing along with other people. Back to Chris. He wakes up tied to a sofa and a weird VHS movie starts playing on the TV. Here we find a funny guy saying things like, "You've been chosen because of your strength and capabilities," and talks about a so-called coagula procedure in which their order has been working for years until this guy perfected it, and says he's willing to offer the service to members of the group. This is like an Illuminati thing, isn't it? Then we see the whole family together, and we realize that this guy's on the movie is Rose's grandparent. Then they wave their hands like the Teletubbies. Should I call them the Manson Tubbies? I don't know, but Chris steeps down in crap. And the teacup appears on the TV, and Chris falls asleep. So Rod goes to the police to ask for help, but the dumbass says he believes someone's abducting black people, brainwashing, and making them sex slaves. Naturally, no one believes him, and everyone laughs in his face. Good job, Rod. Good job. Your bro's about to be abducted or killed, or tortured, and you go there and mess it up. Good job. Anyway, he calls Rose and asks where the hell Chris is, but Rose lies saying that he left 2 days ago. But it seems that after all, Rod's not that much of a dumbass, and he realizes Rose is lying. So he tries to record the call, but Rose says something like, you're calling me because you want to have all this delicious white meat, don't ya? And Rod freaks out and hangs up. Back to Chris. He wakes up again and has a Zoom meeting with the blind man where he tells him his mind will be transplanted into Chris's body, so he gains control of him and is able to see again. Naturally, Chris will be able to see and hear everything but won't control his body. Wow, this sounds like a transhumanism stuff from Black Mirror. Then Chris asks why they choose black people for this monstrosity, but the blind man just doesn't know nor gives a damn. The meeting is over, but Chris realizes he scratched the sofa too much and there's con coming out of it now, so I guess he'll have to pay for that later? Or will the blind man inside Chris's body have to pay for it? This movie's so confusing. Here they are, ready for surgery. Dean takes the blind man's head skin off and throws it into the rubbish can. Nice. Jeremy goes to take Chris to the surgery, but Chris, bam, hits Jeremy in the head with a solid ball. Then does it again and, well, he just killed the man. You know, things happen. So Chris takes the cotton out of his ears. Oh, that's why he didn't fall asleep. That was pretty smart. Then Dean throws out the blind man's head skin again. Well, how many heads does this man have? Oh, wait, it was his skull. I like it. Well, Dean goes out to see why the hell Jeremy's taking so long, and all of a sudden, blam, Chris rams into Dean with the deer's head. Dean throws a candle and everything starts to burn. Chris goes upstairs, Georgina sees him and runs away. Then, yeah, he meets Missy, who tries to reach for the cup of tea, but Chris throws it out like, yeah, take that colonialist and racist brown water container symbol out of here. Then Missy tries to kill him with an ice pick or something, but Chris uses it back against her and kills Missy. So Chris is like, well, my job is done. He's about to leave, but Jeremy jumps on his back. He's still alive, oh my god. But Chris takes him down and beats the hell out of Jeremy's face. So while the house is burning to the ground and Chris adding a couple of killings to his CV, Rose is eating some Fruit Loops and looking for her next target. Chris takes Jeremy's car, the one that appeared at the beginning of the movie, and tries to escape, but when he's calling 911, he runs into Georgina with the car. Man, don't you have enough of killing? Well, this part's really funny because Rose hears the thud and is like, something's going on. Like, come on, she heard Chris running over Georgina at 300 feet away from her, but couldn't hear Chris beating the hell out of her brother on the other floor? Well, Chris has this trauma flashback about her mother, so he decides to pick Georgina and take her with him, just in case, you know. But Rose appears with a rifle and says, Grandma! And we're like, what the hell? Oh no! Rose's grandma is inside Georgina's body. And we see Georgina has a wound in the head and gets mad at Chris because he ruined her house. But they crash and Rose's grandma dies. Or should I say Georgina? I don't know. Who cares? Because here Rose appears with a rifle and Chris tries to escape, but he gets tackled by Rose's grandpa who's inside the body of the groundkeeper. But Chris, fast as lightning, takes his cell phone out and with its out-of-the-world flash brings the groundkeeper back to normal. Like, for real. This family developed a complicated system to hypnotize and transfer someone else's mind to someone else's body, but the flash of a camera was enough to bring people back to normal? The power of science. Where's your god now, huh? Well, the groundkeeper asks for the rifle to kill Chris himself, but instead shoots Rose in the stomach. And then he shoots himself in the brain, and that's life. And that was the end of the movie. I still strongly believe the real lesson behind this is, wait, Rose is still alive and is crawling towards the rifle. But Chris is faster and takes the gun away from her, so Rose is like, I'm sorry, Chris. I love you. And they kiss and make love. Ha! Would you imagine that? No. In fact, Chris starts choking Rose with his bare hands. Well, some people like suffocating their partners when they're, I mean, it's more common than you'd think, so maybe they're like actually making love. No, okay, alright, I'm sorry. Chris is trying to kill her. Nice. Oh, but he can't. Then a police car appears, and Rose starts crying for help, and it seems that this is the end for our good fella Chris. But yeah, his bro Rod came to the rescue, so Chris gets into the car, and Rod says, told you not to go to a white parent's house. And it's so funny because his best friend was about to be deprived of his own body, then had to burn down a house, stomp the face of a man until he killed him, ram through the throat of another man, and almost choked the love of his life while looking her in the eyes. But Rod is still in the mood for jokes. Cool, Rod. You're the man, Rod. I love you. Seriously, you ended up being a hero after all, so you really are the man. Oh yeah, and Rose dies. Great movie. Nice to see that Chris got out in the end.